What's up, guys? Doing this video for my buddy John P. over in Portugal. The world famous Portugal. One of the longest lasting countries, probably in the top 5 or so, longest consecutive existing countries in the world. Portugal. I think there was a little period where the Spanish monarchy ruled over Portugal for like 60 years, but the laws and the country and nothing changed while that was happening. So I know Portugal at one time had the greatest navy in the world. That's why I had a friend that lived in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He was a friend of mine and Amy's, and he spoke Portuguese, Spanish, English, and French. Jamie Perez was his name. But a lot of history over there in Portugal. And it has been a country for a very, very long time. And like I said, at one time, one of the greatest navies in the world. A lot of explorers. Portugal's been around a very long time. America, we're having our 250th anniversary this year. We are mere infants in the timeline of countries being countries. Most countries, they don't last all that long before there's a coup within or they're conquered by somebody else. But Portugal's one of those countries that has been around for an extremely long time. I'm thinking also, well, in Europe, there's some in Africa that have been around longer. Not Nigeria. There's another African country starts with an N. I think they've been around longer than Portugal. Weed eater. We got a new weed eater. The other one, it broke down, and so we got a new one. Tomorrow I was gonna cut the grass today, but Amy asked me not to because it's so hot today. So I didn't want her worrying, so I'll wait till tomorrow. I'll just try to get up earlier, get an early start on it. But I looked at that video link you sent me on that guy, and when it comes to American law, I know a lot about it. I've been on the wrong side of the law, and I have known many people that have been tried, convicted. I know a lot about American law. And before I say anything, what I need to say is, number one, I love my country very much. we have it really good here in America. I think that's kind of a lot of our problems, is we've had it so good for so long that people have gotten very spoiled, very self-entitled, feeling like they're owed something. And our legal system is one of the greatest legal systems in the world. But, and there's a big but that goes along with that, it's only great, just like our government, as long as there's no corruption within the system. And unfortunately, there is a lot of corruption within the system. Apparently, it's this guy and another guy, you know, in the cell. Guards, they say the guards are making the rounds, and they find this guy laying down in the cell, unresponsive, he's dead. They say he's got wounds, you know, that from blunt force trauma. They said that, and this is a quote, the inmates said they heard a fight going on, and they heard the guy yelling, "Help, they are beating me." They is plural, not singular. But I don't know all the ins and outs of that case. If I had his motion of discovery, which is your motion of discovery, every time I would get arrested, the first thing I would tell the lawyer is I want my motion of discovery. Because your motion of discovery will have anybody that's testified against you. It's all the evidence. They have to give you all the evidence that the state has saying you're guilty, or they have to give you exculpatory evidence, which is evidence, they have to disclose that, which is evidence saying that you're innocent. In America, we have a big problem with innocent men being charged and convicted. Right now, there's a man, Gary Wayne Sutton, sitting on death row in Tennessee, and I believe with all my heart that the man is innocent, and in about a year here, they are going to kill an innocent man. My cousin, Jerry, we called her Jerry. Her name was Geraldine, but McDonald, my grandma, she's my grandmother's sister's granddaughter. And my grandmother practically raised Jerry. Jerry had these big brown eyes, real big brown eyes. But Jerry's whole life, she had this fear of being murdered. Almost to a phobia degree. She married Mackey. His last name was McDonald. We called him Mackey. And Mackey used to own all of the Ballast car washes in St. Louis here. We used to have a bunch of t-shirts said Ballast car wash, keep it clean. But he had some money. And Jerry lived in these condos that she paid extra money. They were high security condos. And those condos hired a man that had been convicted of murder and was out on parole. They didn't do a background check on this guy. He had a cocaine habit. I sent Harvey Talks Prison, and I sent Dolly and some other people some of the court stuff on the internet about my cousin's murder. He beat her with a pipe wrench. and for 2 days was selling things out of her condo while she laid there dead in the bedroom on the floor. Was I mad about that? You're damn right I was mad about it. If they'd have put me and him in the same room at that time, he wouldn't have walked out of that room. But I've also had several friends. A good friend of mine, Billy Roberts, he was like a brother to me. When I first moved over to the east side, Billy took me under his wing and taught me how to survive. When me and Amy were in Arizona, he was one of the people I wanted to see when I got back. And when I looked him up, I found out that he got shot in the head and tossed out of a car going down the highway. Audie Wilson, he got murdered. I've known a bunch of people that have killed, and I've known a bunch of people that have been killed. But even though I have had people in my life that were murdered, I am 100% against the death penalty. And I'll tell you why. Did I want to kill the person that killed my friends and my cousin? Absolutely. Absolutely. Would it have been right for me to do that? No. There's 4 reasons I'm against the death penalty. Number 1, and the most important, only God has the right to say, only God has the right to take life, because God is the only one who gives life. It's His place to say when we go. We're all here for His purpose, for His reason, His plan. And it's not anybody else's right to decide when it's somebody else's time to go. The second reason I'm against the death penalty, they say it's a deterrent. That's bullshit. In England, at one time, they used to hang pickpockets. And the pickpockets would show up and work the crowds at the hangings. It's not a deterrent. People always think they're smarter. It's not going to happen to them. They're not going to get caught. Or most murders are a crime of passion. They happen spur of the moment on the spot. So it's not a deterrent. That's another reason I'm against the death penalty. Even though I've had people I love very much that were murdered. The third reason I'm against the death penalty is because in this country, lawyers that are prosecutors, they are judged by their conviction rate, by how many convictions they get. That's a big mistake. Because if a lawyer has political ambitions or wants to make a name for himself as a lawyer, he wants to get as many convictions as he can. And there's good and bad in everything. But there are a lot of lawyers that will falsely, or prosecutors that will falsely imprison somebody that they know is innocent to get those convictions. And I had a guy one time on YouTube in the comments tell me that that doesn't happen in America. So I put links up for him. If you do a Google search for Governor Ryan, R-Y-A-N, of Illinois, that's where I did my time. Put a search in Governor Ryan of Illinois commutes all death row inmates to life without parole, and you will see what I'm talking about. On his way out of office, there were, I believe it was 7 to 11 men But they were all sitting on death row at the same time waiting to be executed. And DNA proved that they were innocent. So at one time, in one state in America, you had 7 men tried, convicted, waiting to be executed, and DNA proved they were innocent. Anybody can look it up. It happens all the time. And on his way out of office, and I agree with him for doing this. I understand the families of murder victims want justice. I understand the anger and the hurt that comes along with having somebody you loved murdered. But on his way out of office, he commuted. Those guys that were found innocent through DNA, they were released. And then he commuted all the rest of the men on death row, their sentence to life without the possibility of parole, because he said in good conscience he did not know how many of them were innocent, because there were so many men waiting to be executed that were innocent. This does happen in countries like America, and it happens very often. The other thing you gotta understand is, behind the walls, when you are in prison, the guards and the people running the prison are the ones that filter what's allowed to go outside of that prison as far as video. Like, look at Jeffrey Epstein. I've been in prison. I've been in city jails, county jails. I've been in maximum security prison. I've been in medium security prisons. I know the system very well. When you are on suicide watch, like they say Jeffrey Epstein was, they take everything that you could possibly kill yourself with. They usually put you in a specific cell where the COs have a line of sight on you 24/7. Pictures of Jeffrey Epstein's cell. There was jumpsuits, prison suits stacked up all over in the middle of the room. He had enough shit, screw hanging yourself. He could have built a rope ladder and got out of as high up as that place was, as many jumpsuits as he had in that room with him. They don't allow you to have that stuff when you're on suicide watch. And then mysteriously, the guards that were on that unit fell asleep. Mysteriously, the camera outside of his cell door was not working. It just quit working. Mysteriously. I was born in the dark, but it was not last night. That man did not kill himself. Either one of these powerful people that he had dirt on killed him, had him killed. And that's the other thing. The guards were buying all kinds of stuff online the night before, like they had mysteriously ran into a bunch of money. This is all facts. Anybody can check it. But he did not kill himself. Nobody ever saw the body at a funeral. It was cremated. Either one of two things happened. Either they had somebody kill him, which is very easy to do. And anybody that thinks for a second, there's good and bad in everything in this world. There are good, just, law-abiding prison guards. And there are prison guards that do everything from turn a blind eye knowing somebody's going to be killed, taking weapons out of one gang's cells and giving them to another gang, bringing in drugs, and committing murder. And as an inmate, once you're a convicted felon in the country of America, you're not even... I had somebody wanted me to be a character witness for them in court one time. And his lawyer told him he's a convicted felon. It would hurt your case more than help you to have him testify on your character. Once you are a convicted felon, you are considered a cockroach, a piece of shit, and your word is not believed. You can't be believed. That's the way the legal system is with it. So when you're behind those walls with those guards, it's your word against the guards. And every inmate knows damn good and well who the judge and the jury's going to believe. They're going to believe the guards. And believe me, there are some guards that are just as bad as the people that are locked up in prison. Some of them may be worse. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But these prosecutors in America have an extreme amount of power. There's a federal prosecutor named Andrew Weissmann. And he went after, it was back in the day when that Enron stuff was going on. And he went after some Wall Street guys from Arthur Henderson, I think was the name of the financial firm. Arthur Henderson or something like Arthur Anderson financial firm. It was a business that you invest money in, and once you got a business like that and you go under federal indictment, everybody pulls their money out. So these guys lost their business. Andrew Weissmann altered the jury instructions rules. He changed the whole jury instruction. He didn't have any law to try them with. So what he did is he took two federal laws and combined them and made up his own law. He had exculpatory evidence proving that these guys were innocent. He did not introduce that. Basically, he railroaded these guys because he's overzealous. He's an aggressive prosecutor, but I don't care how aggressive you are. Prosecutors should be aggressive. A conviction is a good thing, but only if the man's truly guilty. Knowing a man is innocent and sending them to prison anyways, that's just evil. That Gary Wayne Sutton on death row in Tennessee, I think about him all the time. When I was in prison back in the 90s, I deserved more time than I got. I had a very good lawyer. Me and Nate, I got called in for a sit down with a very serious man. I'm not going to say his name. But he told me, he said, "You're making quite a name for yourself, Mark." I said, "I guess so." And he said, "Well, let me tell you something. My daughter works at Mitch and Nancy's Tavern. And if anything should happen in there while my daughter's working, I will kill every one of you." He said, "And I'll start with you." And I told the man, I said, "Nothing's going to happen in there." And he said, "That's all I need to hear. I know you're a man of your word." And this guy, he was just with us that day. He was wanting to hook up with the little clique we had going on the streets. And he starts saying, "Who do you think you are?" and talking shit to this man. And I told my buddy Tommy, Tommy got deported to Germany. But I told Tommy, I said, "Tommy, get this motherfucker out of here." And Tommy took him out back. And me and Nate and Tom, I got done talking to the guy I was talking to. I'm not going to say his name. He's dead. It wouldn't matter, but I'm still not going to say his name. But he, just put it this way, he was a very serious man. When he said, "I will kill every one of you," if such and such happens, he meant exactly what he was saying. And he probably wouldn't have been the one to do it, but it would have been done. And I was so stupid back then, I wasn't even scared about it. I knew him, he knew me. I knew he was serious when he was saying it, but I kind of welcomed death back then. And now that now that it's running alongside of me, I don't welcome it so much. But anyhow, back to the story. We started walking, and I said, "Motherfucker, do you know who you were just talking to?" I said, "You're not even one of us, motherfucker. You ain't got no right even running your mouth." And he started getting smart. Well, I started for him. Well, Tommy went at him. And Tom was actually on top. The night I met Tom, I was at a party. He got in an argument with these guys that were playing quarters at the kitchen table. And there was 4 of them, and Tom was arguing with them. They flipped that wooden table upside down and each ripped a wooden leg off that kitchen table. And they were beating the hell out of him. And Tom just kept coming at him, coming at him, coming at him. I mean, he was a fucking mess. And after a while of that, I told my one buddy that I was with at the party, I said, "Fuck this, man." And I jumped in, and so did my buddy, and we helped Tom fight. And that's how I met Tom. He's got no back down in him. But God bless him, Tommy is so slow that when he cocks back to hit you, and I'm not exaggerating, you literally have time to think about where you want to move and where you want to hit him before his fist ever gets to you. Amy will tell you, I beat his ass out in Arizona. Me and Tom's fought like 7 or 8 times. Some of the times were funny as hell. Like the night Detective Ellis, we were stumbling drunk down the street one night. This is a funny story. I gotta tell this story. Stumbling down the street just drunk as hell, man. And Detective Ellis pulled over. Detective Ellis hated me. I mean, hated me. And he said, "What are you guys doing?" He said, "You're drunk as hell." I said, "We're fucking going home." He said, "Get in the car. I'll give you a ride." I said, "I don't want to ride, motherfucker." And Tommy goes, "I'll take a ride." And I pushed Tom and he fell down. Well, he was pissed. He got up and I was laughing so hard I had tears just rolling down my cheeks. We're running around Detective Ellis's squad car, or he's unmarked. And Tommy's pissed off chasing me. Detective Ellis finally herds us, gets us in the back seat, and I was passing out. I remember him. He kept saying, "Mark, where are you living now? Last I knew you was in that damn hotel. Where are you living now?" I said, "Ain't none of your business where I live, motherfucker." And I kept passing out in the back seat. Well, I woke up the next morning on the train tracks. I mean, on the fucking train tracks. And trains went through that town frequently in that town at night. And Amy, she said, Tommy called. He says, "Is Mark there?" And she said, "No, he's not, Tom." And click, Tom hung up the phone. He called back again. "Mark home yet?" "No, he's not home yet, Tom." But click, he hung up again. The third time he called, she said, "What'd you tell him?" You said,
"Tom, if you hang up this phone one more time."
Yeah, she said, "Tom, if you hang up this phone one more time, we're going to have a problem. What the fuck's going on?" And he said, "I don't know. The last time I saw him, he was in the back of Detective Ellis's police, unmarked, you know." And that was funny. So, man, he was pissed. He chased me. I had all these tears running down my. I was just laughing so hard. It seemed like we was always laughing back then. But we was always fucked up. But where was I? Oh, with the whole thing, how I got my case, because I should have got more time. Long story short, him and Tom got into it. And by this time, Tom's wife, Debbie, had seen us walking, and she got out of the car she was in and was walking with us. Well, they got in a fight, and it was behind these new office buildings that went up in a parking lot. And Tom was actually winning. He was on top. And the guy said, I quit. And I told Tom, I said, don't you get off him, Tommy. Don't you get off him. And he didn't listen to me. And he got off of him. And the guy got up and got the upper hand on Tom. So I told Nate, I said, hey, let him take some hits, man, for not listening, you know. Well, if I didn't listen, let him get some hits, take some hits. Not that it bothers Tom. But I fought him like 7 times, and almost every time I ended up putting a knife to his fucking throat. You just get tired of hitting the guy. He just don't stop, man. I've never seen him knocked out, and I've seen him a bloody mess and still fighting. But Tom's wife, Debbie, reached down and grabbed the guy by his shoulder to try to pull him up off of Tom, and he got up and punched Debbie in the face. I lost it. Nate lost it. I had on steel-toed boots that night. And when the police pulled up, I was on top of him. His eye, I'm not proud of this. I'm not proud of this at all. He deserved his ass beat. But my punishment was always worse than the crime. When the police pulled up, I'm on top of him, and I was trying to pop his eyeball. His eye was literally hanging out of his head. I had on steel-toed boots, and I had crushed his orbital socket. And his eye was hanging, I don't know what, it's like like an umbilical cord almost hanging out of his head. And I was trying to pop it. Every time I go to punch him in his eyeball, it'd go right or left. Police are beating me in the head with nightsticks. They finally beat me off of them. And at first, they were talking about charging me and Nate with attempted murder. And then they decided they were going to go with heinous battery, which is where you have beaten somebody so badly that they are permanently disfigured or they have permanent mental damage. And thank God they got his eyeball back in his head. My buddy Bobby saw him a few years back, and Bobby said, man, Mark, he still ain't right. He's still all fucked up. I used to be not a nice person. I used to be very angry and very violent. And I am not proud of that. That is not the way we are supposed to be. I'm ashamed of that. But they got his eye back in his head, and they ended up charging us with aggravated battery. Well, since Tom was there, they took us all in. Tom didn't do nothing to the guy, but they took us all in. And we were telling them Tom didn't do nothing, but they didn't listen. And I told Tom, I said, man, what you don't want to do on a criminal, you want your own lawyer, your own judge. You don't want to be on the same case with the guy where you're both getting the same sentence. It's just bad. You don't typically want to do that. But where I grew up, I've seen too many times. This is one thing I cannot deny. A black man will get more time than a white man. It's just a fact. I've seen it too many times to be a coincidence. There is something to that. And a black man will typically get more time, and they will get convicted more frequently. Now, the reason I think they get convicted more frequently is because in America, let's say you got a corrupt prosecutor like I'm talking about. Are they going to go for the rich white boy whose mommy and daddy's going to pay all this money for a fancy lawyer? Or are they going to go for the poor black inner city kid who's going to end up with the public defender? Most of it is because a lot of the young black guys in the inner city don't have the money for a good lawyer. But some of it might be racial, I don't know. I've met actually more racial black people than I have white people. It's just a fucking fact. I was given a golden eagle feather by a woman named Evelyn Volker. She was full-blooded Comanche because a bunch of black guys were going to beat her son up because he was Native American in the county jail, and I helped her son fight. I'd like to say we won. We didn't. They was coming over the bunks and shit. Bunk beds are coming over the top of the bunks and everything. There's too many of them. But I did stand there and fight with them. And if it would have been a black guy and a bunch of white guys were going to beat him up just because he was black, I'm not down with that. You're going to have to whoop my ass too, you know, because like with the Miss Volker's kid, and her name was Volker, she married a full-blooded German. And she was full-blooded Comanche, her husband was German. So Gerard was half German, half Indian. I'm half German, Bohemian, and then the other half is Cherokee French. But anyhow, I'm getting sidetracked. We stayed on the same case because I knew if Nate was on that case by himself, he'd have got a lot of fucking time. And we got lucky. We got very lucky. They gave us felony probation. We got charged with aggravated battery in the state of Illinois. That was a Class C felony. It carried 2 to 5 years. So we got put on felony probation. Now, my dumb ass, my ex-wife, they come out with these glamour shots. They do the makeup and they fix the gal's hair up and they take these pictures of them. And that's all I was working as a roofer trying to keep diapers on kids' asses and everything else. And all I hear constantly, I want glamour shots. I want glamour shots. Marla's got glamour shots. I couldn't take it no more. I went down. I'm not blaming on her. It was my dumb ass that did it. But I went down and I robbed Lloyd's Texaco gas station. She got her fucking glamour shots and I got a mug shot. So now I violated my felony probation where I almost beat a guy to death. And I'm being charged at first with armed robbery. I got one of the best lawyers in the area. He was trying to be a prosecutor. I don't know if he is or not, but he got me a good deal. And they dropped it down to a theft over. Another Class C, 2 to 5 years. They ran my cases together. They ran them consecutive instead of concurrent. So they gave me 4 years. And I did almost every day of my 4 years because back at the time in Illinois, you say you had 20 years. Back then it was you did a day for a day and you got 6 months good time. So theoretically, if you got 20-year sentence, day for a day knocks you down to 10 years. Plus your 6 months good time, theoretically you could be out in 9.5 on a 20-year sentence in Illinois back then. They've raised it up more. It's more like 70% or something now. But you're going to lose your 6 months good time. You can count on that because somebody's going to test you. But I could have been out in 1.5 years. Less than that with the time that I did in the county jail waiting to go to trial and everything. But I got hooked up in a gang and I got some extra time while I was in there and I lost my good time. And so, you know, but that's how it worked back then. But I should have been charged with I mean, it was almost, it pretty much was attempted murder. If the cops wouldn't have shown up and beat me off of him, I don't know if I'd have stopped. Back then, I was bad about not knowing when to quit. All that anger and hurt I had in me as a kid, it would just come out. And towards the end there, when I came back, I hate to admit this, but it's the truth, and I'm never going to lie to you guys on this channel. When I came back, Nate, him and Bobby's my two best brothers in the world. I love them more than my biological brothers because I don't hear from my biological brothers. But Nate told me when I got back, he said, Mark, I'm glad you went to Arizona. And I said, how the fuck can you say that to me, man? I missed you guys out there. And he said, Mark, you were so evil. And that's the word he used, evil. He said, you were so evil, I didn't know if I'd keep riding with you, bro. And I said, evil, Nate? And he goes, you don't remember, man? And I guess the brain has a way of forgetting things that it don't want to remember. But I've been reminded of some things that I did since I've been back that you wonder, how could anybody forget doing those things? But those things weren't as crazy as a lot of the other things I've done. And it was before I went to Arizona, it was getting to the point where I was really enjoying my work. When I collected money for somebody, or at me and Amy's wedding, the night of our wedding, I beat a guy down that was at our wedding because his friend did something to my wife that I'm not going to say because it's nobody's business. But all I said to him was, I said, you're lucky your fucking friend didn't show up here tonight. And he said, fuck you. Fuck me. No, fuck you. I'm taking off my cummerbund and everything, my tuxedo, I'm putting it, poor Amy standing there shaking her head. I walked around that motherfucker 3 times. I said, are you ready? And he says, yeah, I'm ready. I said, I don't think you are, but here it comes, motherfucker. And every time he would try to crawl to the edge of that parking lot, I would grab him by his ankles and drag him back out into the middle of the parking lot and keep beating on him. At one point, I let him get to the car. I didn't know it was his grandmother's car, but I ripped the luggage rack off the trunk of the car and was beating him with that. And if his buddy would have showed up that night, he'd have died. What he did to my wife when they were together. But he's in the ground. I didn't do it, but I made her finally give me the guy's last name when we came back, and I looked him up, and he's dead. And I did not do it. I have no desire to hurt anybody anymore. That person died out there in Arizona. I had a guy call me Crazy Horse. That's what they used to call me on the streets, and it was my street name. And I told him, I said, the guy that you knew as Crazy Horse don't even exist no more. He died somewhere out there in Arizona. And I hope the son of a bitch stays buried. Because he was not a nice person. I've told Nate that there's times I wish, like whenever I was doing my first channel, there were times I wish that people could understand how lost I was and how crazy I was. Because people that knew me and then they see me now, they're just amazed. They can't believe that I'm the same person. And it's a strong testament to the power of God and to the love of a good woman. But I was what you would call evil. The only thing that was really safe with me at one time was a child. If you were a woman and you pissed me off, I might take a swing at you. I didn't care. I was an equal opportunity person. And it wasn't that I was Yeah, I was scrappy. I was tough. I've been in over 100 street fights, easy. But it wasn't that I was so good at fighting. It was that I would take it to extremes. I tried to take you out over something simple. That night I got in a fight with that MC and got beat so bad. It changed me psychologically to where when somebody fucked with me, I went full speed. I didn't fuck fighting. I'm going to try to kill you, you know. And I'm going to maim you and hurt you so bad that you're not going to think about calling the police and you're not going to ever fuck with me again. And I got real lucky because it would have been so easy to kill me back in the day. Because I was so arrogant, I'd call motherfuckers to tell them I'm on my way. Prepare yourself, pack a lunch. It's going to be an all-day job. If I wanted me dead back then, I would have just done something intentionally to piss me off and had my boys waiting. And when you come charging in, you're dead. And I'm not here because I'm a badass. I'm not here because I'm smart. I'm not here because I'm tougher than anybody else, because I'm not. I'm a broke down old man. I am only here by the grace of God and no other reason. If it wasn't for God Almighty and it wasn't for my wife, I would not be here right now. My buddy Bobby saw me get hit one night by a 1969 Chevy Camaro. And that car was doing between 50 and 65 miles per hour. Solid. I flew up in the air, just spinning. The car went underneath me and I landed flat on the asphalt. And I popped up. I didn't have a bruise. I did not have a cut. I did not have a mark on my body. The next day I was not sore. That doesn't happen. That is an act of God. It's like Nate, you know, he's had all these strokes. And he'd get out of the hospital and he'd say, "Warrior strong." I'd say, "Quit saying that shit." "What do you mean, man?" "What do you mean, what do I mean? You had a stroke, motherfucker. You're not still alive because you willpowered your way through that shit. You need to humble yourself and give God some credit." Warrior strong my ass. The ones of us that are still alive, and there ain't many of us, we're still alive by the grace of God and no other reason. And that's what blows my mind too. The ones that are still alive are the craziest ones out of all of us. The rest of them were in the ground before they were 35, most of them, and there was over 30 of us. And it's just such an incredible waste. That's why my first channel, my whole message, the main message I wanted to get out was, when we were kids, sometimes bad things happen to us. And you got to deal with it positively. If you turn to drugs and alcohol to cover the pain and numb yourself up, and you get angry and you take that anger out on the world, you're just continuing to be a victim. I'm 56 years old. Got death walking with me every fucking day. Can't hardly breathe to cut that little fucking yard out there. And it's because my body has been beat to hell. I have put so many drugs and so much alcohol and so much tobacco in my system. I could probably give fucking Keith Richards a run for his fucking money. That motherfucker should be on Men Health magazine. I don't know how the fuck he's still alive. He looks like Walking Dead, but it's a waste. And the way you survive and you become a survivor rather than a victim is you deal with it positively. And you succeed in life despite what they did to you. And that was my whole message. I always said I was never going to monetize. I don't give a fuck about money. I wish I cared about it more than I did. I just thought if I could help one angry young person, just one, and they changed the course of their life because of something I said. Words are powerful things. And I thought if just one person I could help them not waste their whole fucking life like I did. And when they get to the end of their road, they wouldn't have all the regrets. And they wouldn't have to face their God and tell him I did nothing with the time you gave me on this earth. I thought if I could do that, and after I was gone, who knows how many people that video might have helped. But then I got to talking about political things like I'm going to do right now. And YouTube took my channel down. 3 years of my life. And there was stuff on there that I can't get back. And there were some good videos on there. And I ain't got the time to do it again. But I would have been able to die with a little bit of peace. If I could turn the negative of my life into a positive. Anytime you can turn a negative into a positive, it's a good thing. But for me, I felt like if I did that, then my life would be worth something good. And I tried. But I got to talking about things I saw going on, what these elites were doing with children, and that's my one thing. Anybody that knows me, you could be one of my children, and if you abuse a child, you're dead in my mind. You don't exist no more. I will cut Amy out of my life over some shit like that. She would never do that, but there's no second chances. Amy will tell you, I've cut people, Phoebe's daughter, Michelle. I loved Michelle like a sister. And the things she said to her granddaughter that day, I can't unhear it. And they were hateful things. And I remember being a kid, and I still, as a 56-year-old man, I still got the deepest scars I got on me are, and I've got a lot of them, bullet holes, fucking cuts, full bottles of beer smashed on my face, fucking, I mean, I've been beat, I've been hit by cars, I've been stuck, I've been shot, I've been fucking cut, I've been kicked, I've been hit, like a fucking old Timex Wax commercial. Take a licking and keep on ticking, but that only goes so long. And I just know when I die, my guardian angel's going to be standing there. He's going to be shaking his head, pursed lips. He's going to have scratches on his face and his arm in a sling and missing feathers. And he's going to look at me and he's going to say, "You are a little fucking asshole." Because he has been working overtime. Anybody that knows me will tell you, when I was born, God gave me a couple extra guardian angels and he wrapped me in bubble tape because, believe me when I say there is no reason I should still be here. I can right now think of 10 different instances that I should have died and I'm still here. And it's not because I'm anything special. I sure as hell ain't no smarter than nobody else. I sure as hell ain't no slicker. And I sure as hell ain't no tougher. I am alive for one reason mainly, and that's by the good graces of God. He ain't done with me yet. I believe we all come into this world with things we're supposed to learn and things we're supposed to teach other people. We are all connected. You're connected to people that you haven't even met in your life. It's like a giant old tapestry, like you see in medieval castles. Huge tapestry, and we're all one piece of fabric, one piece of yarn in that giant tapestry. And we can't see the whole big picture. We're just one yarn, but we are all connected in that big picture, and only God can see that big picture. But we are all connected, and we are all energy. And what you're feeling, you vibrate that out to other people. I used to think all that was bullshit, and it was ironically in prison when I realized that that was true. Before I earned my flag in prison for the gang I was in, the organization I was in, before I earned my flag, I wasn't privy to certain information that was going on. And I remember one time, you could just feel it. You could feel it, the energy. The whole energy shifted in the prison. And a couple hours after that energy shifted, shit kicked off. And nobody told me something was going to happen, but you could feel it. You could just feel it. You knew. And that's when I became very aware that we do put that energy out, and it does affect everybody around us. Positivity breeds positivity. That's why I watch John P. and I watch Crushed It and Dolly, and I can go on and on. Rocky Strong, Krupp, all kinds of people. Because I try to, my whole life I was negative and angry, and just at war with the world and everything in it. And that anger and that negativity, it will eat you up like a cancer. And not just you, everybody around you that's trying to love you, because you do pump that shit off. I remember one time here, wasn't all that long ago, I was in a rage. I didn't say nothing. I wasn't tearing nothing up. And I was like, where the fuck are the dogs? And I thought that they got out. And I went downstairs to check, see if they were in the backyard. They were downstairs shaking. I was in a rage. Really battling with trying to keep myself from backsliding and doing something that would have been wrong. And those dogs were shaking. I wasn't yelling, I wasn't screaming, I wasn't throwing things around. But they could feel it coming off of me. I still get angry sometimes. Since me and Amy's been together, and this is the truth, the only time that I have become violent is when somebody has disrespected her or tried to hurt her. One time in particular, a guy threatened to kill my wife and kids, and I heard him with my own ears. And thank God, a man that I loved like a father, I don't know how I didn't take him that night with me for a reason, but he showed up. It's another situation where God intervened. It took him 45 minutes to talk me down, and I had the dude. He was a mess. He'll never look right again. But he threatened to kill my wife and children. And I see people do that shit on YouTube, and you got to be very careful doing that. It's like Savage Studios. Him and the one guy got in a beef, arguing with each other. Dude showed up at his work and shot and killed him. Now one mother's got a son going to prison for murder, and another mother has to bury a son. And my heart breaks for both of those ladies. Because of every species on the earth, the most dangerous thing is a female protecting her young. A mother's love is a very special thing. That 9 months in the womb, something happens. I think that's where that mother's intuition comes from. But if the mother ain't on drugs or crazy, the only love stronger than the mother's love. I love all my children. But if the mother's right in the head, the only love stronger than a mother's love is God's. And I truly believe that. At least that's the way it's been in my life. But anyways, back to this case here with this guy. I typically don't comment on things like that. The one thing I heard that makes me go, is they said that the other inmates said that he was yelling, "They are beating me." If he's just in the cell with one man, which he was, he wouldn't be saying they. For all you know, the guards beat him to death. And they're pinning it on that guy. I've seen them do worse than that. I've seen them do much worse than that. I've seen guards do things that are as bad as any person I ever met in prison. There's good and bad in everything. And that's the thing, like I said earlier, behind the walls, it's your word against the guards. And all those inmates in there know that. If that guy he was from out of town too, he's just in there, he's not in any prison organization, jail organization, he doesn't know nobody. If the guards beat him to death, none of them inmates would say a damn thing. You don't snitch in prison. The people that hurt children and people that snitch, those are the two that die the most. And snitches are considered just as bad as people that hurt children. Now, prison has changed a lot since I was in. Whenever I was in, there was somewhat of a code of honor among thieves. You did not. If you had a beef with a man, you left that man's wife and you left that man's children out of it. Now, if the woman was part of the game, she's slinging dope, dealing drugs, she's part of that lifestyle, she's fair game. And you didn't snitch. I don't see shit, I don't hear shit, and I sure as fuck ain't gonna say shit, is the motto. You just didn't do that. If you went to prison whenever I did my time in Illinois, and there was proof that you were a snitch, you have a very good chance of never walking out again. And I have seen guys, I've been in a prison where men have been killed in protective custody. There's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. But I don't know enough about this county jail, the guards. I don't know enough about him, how he got along with his cellmate. So I don't know. I can't really comment on whether I think he did it or not. But just the fact that the other prisoner said he was yelling, "They're beating me." He might got pissed the guards off, big reality TV star guy acting cocky, and they might have stomped his ass to death. I mean, they had about 5 years ago some black kid up in Chicago. They said he died of natural causes at the prison, the max I was at, and this boy's head was swollen up like a pumpkin and bruised to hell. Natural causes my ass. Jamel Hanna, he did 17 years. He was innocent. The Innocence Project got him out. He did time in the prison. I did time in. He's got a YouTube channel. He talks about a time that the guards came to cell and they told the guy to cuff up. And he refused to cuff up. And they drug him out of that cell and they beat the hell out of him. And we've got it actually, prisoners now got it better than they used to have it. I went on a tour with Missouri State Penitentiary, the Walls, the bloodiest 47 acres in America, they used to call it. It's where Harvey Talks Prison did his time. When he was 17 years old, that's where they sent him because he killed the man that was molesting his little brother, his 11-year-old brother. He went to the police, nobody did nothing, and he shot him and killed him. I think he should have got a medal, and I think he should have got the key to the city. But the same system that failed him gave him 29 years in hell. Well, they gave him a 35 to life. He did 29. He shouldn't have done a day. Well, he should have done a little time because if everybody was running around taking the law into their own hands as much as we would like to, you would have chaos. You wouldn't have a society. You would have an anarchy. And believe me, everybody talking about wanting to get rid of the police, that's the dumbest fucking idea I ever heard of. And I'm no best buddies with the police, but they are what holds shit together. If them police are gone, I promise you, I have lived with the wolf, and the wolf will feed on the sheep ravenously and without mercy. And out on the streets will make prison look like a nice place to be if you did not have the police. You have to have the police. And societies have to have laws to be a society. Otherwise, everybody'd be killing fucking everybody. That's why gangs come about in prison. There was a time when the population in prison wasn't that much. And there was no need for gangs. But believe it or not, the gangs bring some order to prison. Like, I couldn't before, even as a flag holder, if I wanted to really hurt somebody, I couldn't just do that, especially if they were in another gang. I had to go to get permission to do that. You couldn't just move on somebody. The gangs do bring us order to the system. Otherwise, as many inmates as there are in the American prison system, everybody be killing everybody. Because you're not just in a gang. It don't mean you don't have rules. You had to, like, we couldn't drink and drive. You can make some hooch and you could drink after lockdown, but they catch you out of your cell, drinking and driving drunk, you're going to get fucked up. Because when people get drunk, they get big mouths and they kick off wars and people get stabbed up and died. You better not get caught out of the cell with your shower shoes on. You better have your tennis shoes or your boots on, ready to go to war. Catch you in your shower shoes out of the cell, get fucked up. There were rules. And without those rules in place with the gangs, it would have been a free-for-all. So the gangs do bring some order to the prison system. But the prison system's set up just like out here on the streets. They keep you going at each other. Black guys killing white guys killing black guys. And actually, in California, white guys kill more people than anybody in prison. And they're the least amount. But I would argue it's because they have to. They're outnumbered a bunch to one. Same where I did my time. There's probably 5, 6 black men to every one white man. And when you do something, you got to make an example. You can't halfway do it. You got to make believers out of people. But I would advise I'd advise not to go to prison. But if anybody ever does, if you can, try not to join a gang. Because nobody rides for free. You will be tested, and doing things is one thing. Living with them is another. I would advise trying to just stay neutral. I knew enough people. I could have probably stayed neutral. I had that one organization I'd had to throw down and fight with, but they'd have whooped my. It'd been easier to kill me because I wasn't gonna cover no tail. I don't like being told what to do. I never have liked it. They'd have beat the fuck out of me a bunch of times, and I'd stayed out of PC and kept fucking fighting, and eventually they'd got tired of it, or they'd have just killed me. But I joined a gang, and don't think you're going to join a prison gang. The brutality goes up big time in prison. And in prison, you can't drive by a house with an automatic weapon and spray bullets at people. In prison, you have to get up close and stick steel up in a person, and it's a very bloody, ugly thing. You have to go hand to hand. You can't drive by in a car spraying bullets. We had 140 something children shot in the crossfire a few years back here in St. Louis in gang violence. I'm here to tell you that is not gangster. Don't call yourself gangster if you're killing innocent children in drive-by shootings. That's not a fucking gangster, that's a fucking thug. A gangster, a true gangster, does not want to be noticed. He's about making money. He don't want to be noticed. He wants to be under the radar. Sometimes you might have to kill people, but he does it right, and he doesn't kill innocent people, especially children, knowing that's going to draw the police on him. Not only is it morally wrong, but you're going to draw more heat on yourself. And when you drive by spraying bullets at somebody, they might live, or you might miss, like it happens all the time, and innocent people get shot, and then they know somebody's gunning for them. A real gangster, they'll be your best friend, and you'll get two behind the ear. You'll think everything's just fine. But that's not gangster driving by spraying bullets and killing innocent people. That's fucking thug. And these youngsters nowadays are out of control, man. I mean, they got no value on human life. All the video games, movies, no parents trying to raise them right. And let me tell you, one thing I will give them is they are more dangerous than we were. Like I said, we had a certain code that you went by. These motherfuckers now ain't got no code. They'll shoot anybody. And it's just the way it is. It's the way society, every generation, our children get more and more scarred up because we're not doing our jobs as parents. We are desensitizing and scarring up our children. My buddy Tommy's son got out of prison, and he wanted me and Nate and all of us to go over there. He said, you guys know what high esteem I hold my pops in. I hold you guys in the same esteem. He said, you guys are part of who I am too. And I said, Dustin, please don't say that to me. I'm honored you said that to me, but don't say that to me if you're just going to keep fucking going back to prison. Because I don't want to be a part of that. We sure as fuck didn't set no examples for them. I did for my kids in Arizona, but that's because I had gotten away from all of it. It took a while, but I got to remember who I was. I didn't have to be a tough guy. Once you get a reputation as a fighter, you got people wanting to beat you up that you don't even know. Having to fight all the time, because if they beat you up, then they're a tough guy. There is no tough guy. The tough guy does not exist, because no matter who you are, I promise you, there's somebody else in this world that can whoop the living shit out of you. And say you're Mike Tyson or Bruce Lee or some really badass dude. You're going to get old someday, and some young buck is going to put you on your ass. It's a colossal waste of time being a tough guy. And it's selfish, taking your anger out, beating on other people. It's cowardly. You got to face your pain and deal with it positively. But, yeah, that case, just what I heard, I mean, the inmates are saying that he was yelling, help, they're beating me up. The world I grew up in, they got all these pronouns and everything now, but the world I grew up in, they means more than one. And if you're in a cell, the murder victim's in a cell with just his cellmate, there would be no they. I mean, it's either the cellmate killed him, or the guards killed him, or the guards let some other people get to him. All three are a very real possibility. And as far as these prosecutors that railroad people in America, they have a law, it's called prosecutorial misconduct. It's supposed to be enforced when a prosecutor knowingly puts an innocent person in prison, but it's rarely, if ever, enforced. What I think should happen, and I think it should happen, I've seen a lot of women do this too. There was a guy on YouTube, and a friend me and Nate knew. He got out of prison, he was on parole, and he's lucky he had that camera going. His old lady, they got in an argument, and she said she was going to call the police and tell the police that he had hit her. And he said, I didn't hit you. And she said, they don't know that. People get angry and they'll lie on you and say things that aren't even fucking true. There was a guy on YouTube had a video, I don't know if I could still find it or not, but there was a gal wanting to use his internet that was in the same apartment or something, and he had the camera going, and she told him if she didn't let him use it, she was going to tell the police that he did something to her kid. And she said the same thing. He's like, I didn't do nothing to your kid. She says, yeah, but they don't know that. I mean, people are scandalous and wicked. And I think when a prosecutor puts an innocent man in prison knowingly, or a human being does that, a woman or a man, if you don't honor God's law that says thou shalt not bear false witness on your neighbor, then man should make a law. If a woman tries to accuse a man of molesting her kid and he really didn't do it, and she knew he didn't do it, that bitch should have to do the time that she was trying to give that man. Same with prosecutors. They should lose their law license immediately. And they should have to do the time they were trying to railroad that person into getting. And believe me, it happens. We have a beautiful justice system in America, a beautiful form of government. But the problem is we've got so much fucking corruption in it. I have called, Amy will tell you, Nate will tell you, Dolly will tell you, I have called since before Joe Biden, all this shit that has come out, I have called it all like I'm hitting the head on a nail. And what I'm still very angry about, very angry. Most of the stuff Trump has done, I agree with him. Now, it came out that he's the one that actually told the FBI about Epstein and kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago and all that other shit. Everybody wanting to blame Trump for everything. They blame Trump for the hunger crisis in Africa. They blame him for everything. And he can't do nothing right. Anything he's for, they're against. But I have hit the nail on the head on all this shit. See, I remember, I love history. God, I love history. And I pay attention. I watch all these C-SPAN congressional hearings. Before Donald Trump ran for office, everybody loved him. He was a Democrat most of his life. There's an old video of him on The View. And Barbara Walters. I'd like to introduce my friend Donald Trump. Everybody loved Donald Trump. He donated to the Democratic Party. They all loved him. He announced he was running for president, and it was a big joke. They were all laughing about it, making fun of it, thought it was fucking hilarious. Then he actually got elected, and they lost their motherfucking minds. And I'll tell you why they lost their minds. Because the biggest gangsters in the country wear suit and tie, and they are in Washington, D.C. They are making money hand over fist. They go into office and come out with millions of dollars. Nancy Pelosi has over $20 million worth of just property. They got so many ways to make money, it ain't even funny. And they got that in crowd, like in high school. That in crowd. It's let's take turns being president. Fact. I can prove it. George Bush Sr. knew Barack Obama when he was a little bitty boy. Barack Obama's stepfather was the 5th richest man in the world. When George Bush Sr. was in charge of the CIA, he went through Obama's stepdad. You ought to look up what Obama's what's that called? They get the trust fund set up. You ought to look at what he gets a month. He didn't come up poor, make his own way. His stepdad's one of the 5th richest men in the world. Here he was, over in the Middle East. They all wear masks, but they all have the same agenda. And it's all around oil and other shit. And they're not even the ones that run the show. There's certain families in this world that have so much fucking money, they could twist any market they want with just the money they have. They're the puppet masters. But when Trump said we need to get over this Epstein thing, elites have been doing this kind of shit to children. They found evidence after the French Revolution that the men, they did it in the name of philosophy then. The men would grape these little girls, and the women would bet on how long the girl would live before she died. Then with the Epstein thing, torturing, killing children, drinking their blood. These people should be drug out of their homes, and they should be hung by the neck until they're dead. Is what should happen. And not one person in power has paid a price for that. We have one of the most beautiful forms of government ever created in America. Even Vladimir Putin. I watched an interview, some Asian guy was interviewing him. Even Vladimir Putin admitted that. But most countries don't last as long as, like Portugal, England. There's some countries in Africa that have been around a long, long time. Same sovereign borders, same state government, you know. But they found all kinds of bad shit that they were doing. These people got so much money and power, they get bored. So they play games with us. And I love my country very much. I love my countrymen, even though they're all sheep. Not all of them, but most of them. The politicians keep you going at each other. Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, black, white. They do that for a reason. Because if you're fighting each other and going at each other, you're not paying attention to the crooked shit that they're fucking doing. And rattlesnake copperhead, you know, one side ain't much better than the other. When I vote, I try to vote for the lesser of the two evils. Trump was not one of the in crowd. That's why they need him out. They can't do business as usual with Trump in office. I've never seen a man gone after harder by the United States government than Donald Trump. And any man the government hates that much, I got his back. But I love my country very much. But when Donald Trump, I write my congressmen, I write my senators, I vote. When Trump said that we need to move on from the Jeffrey Epstein thing, I wrote my congressmen and senators, and I was not a happy camper. No, we do not need to fucking move on from this. There's rules for the common man, and there's rules for the rich and powerful, and they are a different set of rules. I am for equality, true equality, where every man and woman and child is treated equally, regardless of race, religion, sexuality. It has to be even across the board. And I love my country. I consider myself very blessed to live in America. We have got it good here. But until I see the elites and the rich and powerful suffer this, if that was regular men that did what was done to these children by Epstein and all his rich buddies, we'd already be dead. And we would never see freedom again. They haven't even been prosecuted or charged. Maybe some low-hanging fruit might go down. But until I see the day where everybody in this country is treated equally, and you don't got YouTube and Facebook and all these fucking social media fucking companies censoring people, taking away their constitutional rights. And that's been proven too. I watched a hearing where Mark Zuckerberg, who takes it up the rear end without Vaseline and doesn't get a reach around, admitted that the feds were paying him and other social media company owners to say things that were true weren't true and to suppress information, like the Hunter Biden laptop, Hillary Clinton, with her intentionally destroying stuff that she was subpoenaed to bring into Congress. The Clinton Foundation dried up after she wasn't Secretary of State no more. A little weird, ain't it? Joe Biden, no, he wasn't guilty. The son of a bitch just pardoned his entire family before he left office. If your family ain't guilty, what the fuck you got to pardon them for? And Joe Biden wasn't even president. Some motherfuckers in the background. He didn't even know where he was half the time. And shame on his wife. What a skank. People want power. And I've watched them do it with Nancy Pelosi's daughter was taking care of Dianne Feinstein, who had Alzheimer's. She wheels her into Congress to vote. She's waving, hi, waving at everybody. Don't even know where the fuck she is. And the whole time Pelosi's daughter's telling her, say aye, say aye, say aye, telling her what to vote. That shouldn't even be legal. And you can ask Amy, you can ask Nate. I have called everything right down the line, hit the nail on the fucking head. And all these people talking about all these conspiracy theorists. A lot of conspiracy theorists are owed some fucking apologies because they were right. You know, don't ever forget this. Conspiracy theory, that's two words. See, everybody forgets that our government, for decades, their main study was mind control. Mind control. How do we control the sheep's minds? I'll tell you how to do it. You control everything they see and hear, and they do. They had that guy did a video on the news and overlapped them. It was almost verbatim, word for word, the same thing. Because they're getting a little ticker tape. They're actors. They're not journalists no more. They're told what to say. It's propaganda. It's not news. And they keep you going at each other. And everybody keeps going, bah, 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 like a bunch of fucking ignorant sheep going at each other. Here, I'll break it down simple for you stupid fucks. Here's how it is. You could take red ants, big red ants, big black ants, and put them in a big glass mason jar. They get along just fine. Not a problem. Take that mason jar and shake it up real good. Red ants start killing the black ants start killing the red ants. When the motherfucker they should be mad at is the person shaking the jar. So all you geniuses that like to go at each other, attacking each other because you're a Democrat, attacking each other because you're a Republican, attacking each other because you're black or you're white or you're conservative, you're liberal, you're this, you're that, hit you with the wiffle ball bat. All those people doing that, you are stupid, fucking ignorant sheep who have no brains in your head and are too goddamn stupid and foolish to see what's going on. They want you going at each other, jackasses, because then you're not focused on them. What the American people, what the people of the world need to do. And believe this too, it's not a coincidence that all the Western countries of the world automatically get a huge influx of young, military-aged Islamic men all over the world. That's not a coincidence, that's by design. Because there are some very rich people in the world that want a one world government, which they will be the gods of. They will have the currency, all crypto. That way you don't fall in line. They can just, with the push of a key, seize all your assets and you can't do shit. And in order for that to happen, America has to go down. Once America goes down, the rest of the countries will fall like dominoes. And then all you sheep, you can enjoy that world because I ain't going to be around to see it. But that's what you are. If you're letting the news and these politicians get you going after your fellow Americans like people are going at each other, you're an ignorant fucking sheep. Bah! Translate that for me. Bah! That means I'm a fucking fool. Just fucking stupid, uneducated sheep. That's the other thing. They're teaching these kids in these schools now all this trans shit, little grade school kids reading about getting fucked in the butt and sucking dick and everything else. We got 1 out of 4 children in the United States of America graduating from high school can't even fucking read or write. And they're teaching them this crap? How about you go back to teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic, and maybe a little bit about God? I've tried going talking to schools. You can't talk about God. So you can talk about sucking dick to a grade schooler? And the people just go, bah. We've had a bunch of children. We have 450,000 children that have crossed that border that we don't know where they are. Maybe their blood's getting drank. Maybe they're getting raped. But is anybody saying anything about it? Nope. Nope. They're going bah at each other, arguing because they're too stupid to realize what these ignorant motherfuckers are doing. They're keeping you going at each other so you're not holding them accountable. Fucking ignorant fucking people. I mean, I don't got no college degree. Well, I got an associate's in computer science, but I'm not particularly bright. But I've seen, I'm well aware of the fact that the guy that's supposed to be the good guy wearing the white hat is not always the good guy. And I'm not a fucking sheep. And YouTube and Facebook, and they can all suck my fucking dick. Because till the day I die, I will say what I want to say. In the words of the great Mexican revolutionary Zapata, I would rather die standing on my motherfucking feet than live life on my knees. I was born free in the United States of America with a constitutional right to freedom of speech. I've had people that were moderators in my old channel want to block somebody, and I would never let them do that. I can't say I'm for freedom of speech and block somebody because I don't like what they're saying. If somebody's being a troll and a fucking complete little bitch ass asshole, they just serve as a good example of what a bitch ass asshole is. But when they start taking your freedom of speech away from you, that's when they're controlling the narrative. And what do the sheep do? They just go, bah, bah, because they're fools. I ain't no fucking PhD, but I ain't no fool neither. And I know when people are being played, and motherfuckers are being played all over the world. And just a parting note for everybody, the American government, I think through history, different empires, the Persian Empire, Greek Empire, Sumerians. America's government is set up very similar to the Roman Empire. Very similar. For a long time, the Romans were very hard to beat. And you know what finally brought Rome down? What finally was the nail in the coffin for Rome is that Attila the Hun was conquering in the east, and all of those refugees running and fleeing in front of Attila Hun and his horde fled into the Roman jurisdiction, and the system was overwhelmed. All this free shit they talk about, ain't nothing free. Ain't nothing free. And that's the other thing that they have done. Besides keeping y'all going at each other, the other thing they've done, there was a time in America, even when I was a boy, one parent could work a job and they could bring home enough money to support the entire family. And that left the other parents at home to teach their children their morals. Well, the people up top got greedy. You have to have a certain amount of people to do the shit work that has to be done for a society to function. You are a commodity. You are something they need for now until they put chips in your brains or something, but you're something that they need for now for society to run. They give you just enough to where usually the mother and the father's both running their asses off working, trying to keep up with kids' sports, school things, watch maybe a half-hour news at night. It's all by design, people. And you're all being played. There's some people that see it. But most people are so busy trying to pay the bills. Me getting sick, I had nothing to do but dig deep into shit. And I've got some real good computer skills. Better than people would think. And I have gone down some rabbit holes. And I'll tell you what, somebody told me one time, if you knew everything that went on in the government, you would not be able to sleep at night. And I don't know everything going on in the government, but I wish I didn't know half the shit I do know. What the American people need to do, what the English people, what the French people, the German people, what the Western civilization of the world needs to do is we need to stop going at each other, and we need to start holding our elected officials accountable. They work for us, and they have forgotten that. And until I love my country, I will love my... Every time that flag goes up, I stand my ass up and I fucking recognize it. That's why I quit watching sports. When you live in the greatest country in the world where you can be anything,